Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are right now in the world. My name is Aguilar Yanis, and I am the Ecosystem Manager for Incubation at CV Labs. I have the honors today to guide you and host you through this evening or day of pitches, questions, and new experiences. Unfortunately, we can't welcome you today here in our headquarters in Zug. As you can see, the room is very, very empty. We only have Olaf and Lucas here, and Enrico Karen, which is unfortunate due to COVID, but we're looking forward in the near future to welcome you here. As you all know, the end of the demo day, the end of the incubation program is always celebrated with a demo day. Here, we want to give our startups the opportunity to pitch their idea to our community and to new investors. That said, I would like to jump now into the agenda and elaborate what you can expect from today. So we will start the program by a brief introduction of the CV Labs Incubator. Followed by that, our co-founder, Olaf Hannemann, will talk more about CVBC's investment strategy and our portfolio. Followed by that, our Managing Director of Africa, Gideon, will elaborate on why we are expanding in Africa, what is our mission, and obviously also why you will see so many African startups today. After Gideon's introduction, I will introduce our expert council and the format of the pitches and the Q&A to you. Followed by that, we have a special announcement, which me personally, I'm very excited about and can't wait to tell you about. After that, we get right into the main event, which is the startup pitches. We have 6 amazing startups lined up who are eager to tell you more about their idea and how they can improve the world. Concluding, we will talk about some closing remarks and some things you should watch out in the future. On that note, let's start. We are now celebrating the graduation of the 3rd batch of the CV Labs Incubator, but it's the first of its kind. This means we redeveloped and redesigned the incubation program last year. In the past, we had 2 incubation programs which were taking place here in the Crypto Valley in Zug in person. Now, as we're expanding to Africa, the Middle East, but maybe also new regions in the future, to learn more about that, check out our socials. We need to adapt and develop a new strategy to provide an attractive incubation program to young entrepreneurs. Because of that, we developed a hybrid program. Hybrid means that there is parts taking place in person in Switzerland, but the majority is taking place online, remotely accessible. So for this batch, this was the first time we piloted this new incubation program, and we believe it went very well. Well, we need to hear the feedback from the startups, of course, as well, but from our opinion, we are happy. So the program starts with a bootcamp. The bootcamp is a 1-week event here in Switzerland where we bring together the community. We introduce the startups to the broad range of companies here, domiciling in the Crypto Valley, followed by some team activities and also some business fundamentals, such as how to fund a company, how to get started. Followed by that, we start with the 2 online blocks. We call them Block 1 and Block 2. And no, we don't want to be cheesy to connect the blockchain, of course. So the first block is a digital learning experience, which is all about technology, product, and legal. And we designed the program in a way that we provide the startups a set of pre-recorded courses, which are conducted by our network of over 50 experts. Furthermore, are there on a weekly basis webinars and exchanges between mentors, experts, and startups. The second block is similarly structured than the first block, with the difference that is heavily focused on marketing, PR, branding, communication, UI, UX, etc. Once the startups manage to successfully absolve the second block, we are where we are right now, in the graduation week. This week is actually solely focused on preparing the startups for today, for the graduation. We prepare them by analyzing their pitches, to identify their best ask, and make them ready to nail the presentation. Throughout this journey, startups can expect investment up to 125,000 by venture capital arm. On that note, I would like to pass the word to our co-founder and chief investment officer, Olaf Hannemann.
Thank you very much. And also from me, a warm welcome and a few words on CVVC and CV Labs and our general approach. So CVVC, we invest venture capital in young global startups that build based on blockchain. Also, we invest in the global blockchain ecosystem through CV Labs. And CV Labs is the incubation program that you heard about, is co-working spaces from our base in Zug, in Vaduz in Liechtenstein, in South Africa, building in the Middle East and building in the rest of Europe. We run events from large to small. We'll mention a few later on. Have advisory services for corporates and startups alike, and run startup competitions as well. More specifically on the investment side, what is our focus? So our focus is we're looking for the most exciting global startups that build applications based on blockchain technology. And we're quite broad in that. To date, we've done 37 investments in 20 different countries in 4 different continents, and various use cases from what you would expect in blockchain, such as decentralizing finance and supply chain optimization, all the way to accelerating scientific research or creating new learning experiences for students. We invest very, very early, one through the incubation program, where you see the result of batch number 3 today, where we have a standard offering for the startups that apply of up to 125,000 per startup for 10% of equity. And by the way, if there's any startups listening in who have interest to join our batch 4, that's the link. Take a screenshot. You can apply there for batch 4, which will commence in spring of this year. We also invest directly into still young companies that are a bit further in their development. Our ticket sizes there, sweet spot right now is 250 to 500 K into any exciting startups from seed to Series A. As I said, our focus is traditional venture capital, so we like to hold equity or convertible as a preference, but we're also looking at private token sales more recently, and obviously there has to be a blockchain use case or a strong blockchain application involved. In terms of investors interested in what we're doing can participate through a fund-like solution, our so-called actively managed certificates. On one hand, getting exposure to the venture capital portfolio, but we're also working with partners to offer exposure to liquid crypto strategies, as well as a fund-of-fund approach into the most exciting digital asset trading strategies on the other side of the investment spectrum. With regard to future events, what I mentioned earlier, here are a couple of highlights, but there's also smaller events and events, global blockchain events where we're participating. During the World Economic Forum, which has just been moved to late spring, early summer in Davos, we're organizing a whole week of blockchain events live in our hub at the Promenade, which is the main street in Davos during the World Economic Forum, and registration is now open. You can just Google it. And then middle of September, we have 2 events. One, our CV Summit, which is our flagship event here in Zug. 2 days of networking with both Crypto Valley and the global blockchain minds. And just a day before that, and this is new, we will host a day for our own portfolio where you can meet, if you're an investor, the startups in person, network with them. This is an invite-only event. So if you're a VC, an angel, or a corporate VC, reach out to us and we can talk about the process there. With that, here is some of the addresses. If you're a startup and you're interested in funding, or if you're an investor and you want to learn more about an investment approach, you can reach out to us through these email addresses. And without further ado, I want to hand over to Gideon, who will tell you a little more about our global expansion strategy with a particular focus on the African continent. Gideon.
Thank you, Olaf. Let me just share my screen. Right, welcome everybody. Thanks for the introduction, Yanis and Olaf, and for going through those points. As Yanis mentioned early on, Africa plays a really big role in this incubation program. We launched the African operations in July of last year, and we've had an overwhelmingly positive reaction to startups, investors, and the wider blockchain and investment community in Africa. That being said, the majority of this cohort, in fact, the startups are from Africa. I'm based in Cape Town. I'm a South African, born and bred, very passionate about Africa and the use cases from an investment perspective, specifically in the blockchain space. In the background there, you can just see a picture of Cape Town. That's where we're running the CBVC Africa initiatives from, with the Pan-African focus, of course. As I mentioned earlier, we started the initiative from an African perspective in July. I'm very excited and proud to announce that it's a public-private partnership with the support of the Swiss government for the first year. And that really adds to our overarching goal of creating an ecosystem and having that VC plus model of not just providing capital, but also supporting our portfolio companies once they get into the CBVC fold. An overview of our project and what we plan to do. As I mentioned in the slide before that, SECO and the Swiss government plays a massive role in what we're trying to do here. And from an ecosystem perspective, outside of just allocating capital, it's very important for us to bring all the key players together that comprise of an ecosystem. There's a massive opportunity from an investment perspective in Africa, and we believe the biggest is in the blockchain space. But we believe that from an ecosystem perspective, it's particularly disjointed, and we're trying to bring all those players together from the academia perspective, from the government, from associations, startups, investors, corporates, and we see our role on the continent to really pioneer the growth of bringing everyone together. In our first year of operations in Africa, the idea is to have the African startups join our global incubation program. Yanis mentioned that there's a boot camp week in Zug, and we'll have one in Africa for the African startups. Some of the pictures that you can see on the screen now is from our boot camp week in Cape Town and Johannesburg in South Africa in November. We had an awesome time, and the startups went through activities and workshops and so on. The plan for us is to have an African-specific accelerator. And that's what we're planning for at the moment. We believe there's a lot of potential on the continent. The use cases here are very unique, and we're in the preparations of launching an African specific accelerator. In fact, we believe there's so much promise and an opportunity on the continent that our vision is to invest in 100 African startups in 4 years. And of course, our focus is really to look at startups that are focusing on challenges relevant to the African continent. And then, of course, there's a massive focus on us transferring the expertise from the crypto valley in Zug to Africa, and that plays a big role in our ecosystem creation. Why startups in Africa? And those are a couple more pictures of our time in November. The use cases in Africa, as I mentioned, are very unique. In fact, I believe that Africa is teaching us about the true use cases of blockchain and the opportunity it presents for greater financial inclusion. I think that from the fintech and financial space, there's a massive opportunity in Africa because of the lack of financial infrastructure. We've seen a lot of promise in payment solutions to international remittance. With international transfers, you're currently looking at fees of up to 20%. So, of course, blockchain and crypto can really solve some of those issues. Land registry is another big use case, and I won't go too much into that because we've got a fantastic startup called HouseAfrica that will touch more on that. And then I think when you think of blockchain, you always think of transparency and traceability, and those are two things that Africa to a certain extent lacks. So I think they really marry each other well, blockchain and Africa. And just from an investment perspective, Africa has seen massive growth in the last couple of years. We're a very passionate continent. We're very resilient. We have a lot of drive. According to the African Development Bank, 22% of working age Africans are starting their own business. And according to that stat, it makes Africa have the highest entrepreneurship rate in the world. We've seen 8 unicorns on the continent. And whilst that might not sound like a lot, 5 have happened in the last year. It really shows you that growth in the space. And there's so much opportunity for disruption. The market is growing exponentially. 23% of Africans have access to the internet. So it just shows you how much room there is for growth and disruption. And around 250 million Africans have a smartphone in a population of about 1.3 billion. And that's 5x in the last decade. So there's incredible room for growth in the space. And to close things off, one thing I like to say about Africa, I compare it to being an early Bitcoin investor. I think it's the perfect timing. I think CVVC have hit it at the right time. And also to touch on our goal as an organization to really have a global ecosystem, which touches on the model I mentioned earlier of having that VC plus view of not just allocating capital, but once we invest in a startup and they come into our portfolio, they have access of this global ecosystem to really help them scale and grow. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Gideon. All right, let's get closer to pitches now. Let me tell you a bit about the pitch format and the following Q&A. So as mentioned, we have 6 startups which are pitching today, and we'll go one by one. After each pitch, we will have a 10-minute Q&A. This Q&A session is led by 4 experts and us, the community, which will be presented by me. So if you have questions for a startup, type them into the Q&A box, which you will see at the bottom of the Zoom window. And without further ado, let's start now with our first expert, which is Wolfgang Mennel. Wolfgang Mennel is a senior partner at Blockchain Founders Group. He's a venture capital investor and company builder in the blockchain space. In over 30 years of his international career, he has combined experience as a venture capital and private equity investor, consultant, and entrepreneur. Next, we have this handsome gentleman to my left, Lucas Etter. He's basically involved in building up CVC right from the start. He's an expert in blockchain and crypto, entrepreneurship, and VC investing. Lucas accumulated over 10 years of international professional experience in various fields, including finance, venture capital, private equity investing, strategy, business development. He also worked a lot with big players in the field, such as the Deutsche Bank, Credit Suisse, and LGTCP. Next, we have Susanne Fromm from Hamburg joining us. Susanne is the CEO of Hamburg-based investment company CoinX. They were founded in 2017, and CoinX is an investment company which focuses on investment related to blockchain technology and virtual currencies. They also have shares listed on the Düsseldorf Stock Exchange. Susanne is also a DLT expert, a passionate crypto investor, and OG in the space. Last but not least, we have Zakaria George, which joins us from Africa today. He's the managing partner at Launch Africa Ventures, which is Africa's leading seed venture capital fund. He's also the co-founder and chief investment officer at startup bootcamp Afritech, which is the leading multi-corporate-backed venture accelerator program in Africa. Furthermore, is Zakaria known in Africa to be one of the most prominent angel investors. That said, we can move now to the special announcement, which is our very first NFT drop. So over the last weeks, we've been working on the NFT, which is called Future Unicorns Club. We just didn't want to make a random NFT without any further value for our community. What we do is we made 5 NFTs for each startup that will be pitching today. So there is 2 silver NFTs, 2 gold NFTs, and 1 platinum NFTs. With these NFTs, you can show your belief and your support, you're supporting the startup right from the start, because in the future, there might be the next unicorns, who knows? And you don't want to be that guy who had the opportunity on the demo day to get an NFT from a certain startup and miss out on it, right? Furthermore, we added some further functionality in the NFTs. So the 2 gold NFTs will grant you access to our CV Summit, which we saw just before from Ola, taking place in Zug in September. The Platinum NFT will give you access to the CV Summit, but also to the Portfolio Day. So if you're interested now, scan the QR code and check out our landing page. All right, on that note, we are ready for the pitches. We will be starting with BlockFrauds. So BlockFrauds has cutting-edge technology and a really innovative use of blockchain that helps insurers detect fraud far more efficiently and effectively And the founder just don't have this as a passion. They also are very big world whiskey enthusiasts. So over to you, Raina.
Thank you very much indeed, Yanis. And hello, everybody. I'm Rana Doe, CEO and co-founder of Fardo Software, trading as BlockFrauds. So insurance fraud is a massive issue, over $40 billion a year in US property and casualty alone. And it doesn't just affect some faceless corporations. It means higher premiums that we customers have to pay. And we're the lucky ones as well, because those higher costs mean that billions of the most vulnerable people worldwide can't afford the protections they provide. Now, insurers are already spending over $3 billion a year on software to detect fraud, and it's growing fast, but there are still some unmet needs. So why is it so hard? Well, there are lots of different reasons. For a start, there's lots of different types of fraud. And these days, there's the sheer range and scale of data it can be hidden in. Now, it would be so much easier if insurers could share information about frauds and fraudsters, but they're quite rightly subject to very tight regulations, such as GDPR here in Europe, and that you don't want to go sharing all of your customer information with your competitors. And also, there's who they're up against, because the fraudsters are really tech savvy and very agile. They can move much faster than insurers, and they know them inside out. So we're focusing on three fundamental aspects: better detection of fraud, compliant sharing of information, and advanced technology that evolves with those fraudsters. So we apply a range of cutting-edge technologies, including AI and our proprietary algorithms. Our advanced speech analytics can detect fraudsters or worrying fraudster characteristics. And our advanced image analytics can tell if an image or a situation is being used elsewhere. And this all goes to generate an initial claim credibility score, so the claims handler knows which ones to prioritize. And best of all, it's anonymized the information so it can be seamlessly and compliantly shared. Now, I'm using a private permission blockchain to do the sharing because I want a single immutable source of truth of those digital DNAs, acting like a fraud bureau. And I only want trusted network participants to be contributing the intelligence and training the model. And with that wider intelligence set, I can much better spot double-dip claims or known fraudsters or potential fraudsters. And there's also the network effect as well, because the central federated learning can do it faster and wider from this wider intelligence set. And that really helps them keep up with the fraudsters. So this then helps generate an updated, more informed claim credibility score, and all the participants get an updated algorithm for that important initial flag. Our solution can benefit insurers worldwide and insurtechs as well, whose processing and solutions involve speech or image analytics. And we're in talks already there. We can be accessed directly or as a plugin for other solutions or via other platforms. And our MVP is currently undergoing pilot trials with Claim Technology, who are a gateway platform, and with NIMES, who are compliance experts. We've got a classic B2B model, business model, initially free to use as we seed the data, then cents per use as we get established, before moving to licenses and ultimately value sharing and other revenue models. There'll be service revenues available from the outset, and we plan extended functionality in the future. We don't know anyone else that's offering this seamless, compliant sharing of intelligence, let alone with collaborative federated learning. So there are other solutions that offer some degree of sharing, but it's often much more limited, and it often requires onerous follow-up in order to be useful. And there are very few companies offering advanced speech analytics, and none really doing our type of image analytics, let alone with the collaborative federated learning. So we've had some great feedback so far as well. We've got two investors, Outlier and CV here. And we were also runners-up in R3's Corda InsurTech Challenge 2020. And that was sponsored by B3I, who are a major insurance industry blockchain consortium. And we're also one of just 6 companies in the final pilot phase of the European Commission's BlockStart programme. We had great feedback from their expert panel. So the pilot that we're doing with Claim Technology is part of that BlockStart programme. And we aim to use success in that model to do a raise this summer, which will give us 18 months runway to support the initial launch and initial scale up here in Europe and get ready to expand into North America and with other functions and relationships. We currently expect to be raising up to £2.5 million. We've got a detailed financial model and we'll be updating it after the pilot. We know what needs doing. Sodad was CTO and head of innovation at Hiscox, and I've got over 20 years complementary business experience. We've got a strong team and network for support, ready to scale up. So if you're an insurance company or an insurtech that would like to benefit from our fraud bureau, or if you'd just like to join our fight against fraud, then please do get in touch and ask questions now. Thank you very much indeed.
All right. Thank you so much, Joanna, for your pitch. I would also like to invite your co-founder, Sodad, now to join the call for the upcoming Q&A. And yes, before we start with the Q&A, I would like to show you something. So as you see now here at the bottom of the screen, the 3 NFTs spinning. So after each pitch in the Q&A session, we will display the existing NFTs for the startups. On that note, I would like to open the floor now for questions. So Expert Council, feel free to start.
Maybe I'll just kick the session off then. Thanks, Rowan. Very, very interesting presentation, and certainly a very, very important topic. The question that I would have is, the insurance industry isn't known to be open to innovation very easily. How do you get their interest? I mean, what's your go-to-market strategy that this pretty old industry of insurance companies gets their act up and invests in modern technologies?
Yeah, I'll do a quick initial response to that, and then I'll sort of introduce my co-founder Sodad, and with his insurance industry background as well. But actually, it's super exciting at the moment because you're right, the insurance industry has traditionally been very sort of slow and cautious on digital advancement. Ooh, sorry, the sound is getting a bit strange here. But there's also a proportion of the industry that's actually moving very quickly and agilely. There's an incredibly healthy insurtech sector. And I mentioned during the presentation, we're liaising with 2 such insurtechs on a pilot, which is Claim Technology and NIMES. And that'll really prove the concept and start seeding the data. And our competition, we were runners-up, sponsored by B3I, and they're supported by over 21 of the biggest insurance and reinsurance companies worldwide, who have already invested over £200 million in blockchain technology. And so we're leveraging those contacts and that proof to go for the low-hanging fruit, the tech-savvy ones to start with. And hopefully by then the rest will start catching up. And we've also tried to make our technology as user-friendly as possible. They don't have to invest masses in blockchain themselves. It'll all feel quite reassuring. Sodad, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rowan. Thank you for the question. If you look at the insurance industry, it's basically highly connected network of multi-party syndicated contracts, and they often exchange a large volume of data. So blockchain is an ideal platform for them. Mazzuma mentioned B3I, over 50 big insurance companies are investing in the technology. And we're going to leverage that. And they are embracing the new technology simply because they are making the transition from the baggage of their legacy system into the new world of blockchain and frictionless exchange of data. And we are currently, our timing is just right to be able basically to leverage some of this technology and some of these initiatives in the insurance companies.
Okay, thanks.
Hi there, this is Susanna. I have also a question. Sorry, my internet just broke down, so I missed perhaps the very last part, but I'm quite interested because I haven't worked in insurance. This seems, very obvious, a very model to me. But I'm just wondering, but what is your revenue model? So are you getting, like when you're sharing the information between insurances, are you getting a cut of the fraudulent claims that are prevented to being paid out?
Yes, Suzanne, certainly. There was a slide on that in the presentation. I'll gladly share it with you later and have a chat if you'd like. But we have a classic B2B SaaS business model. Initially, it'll be free to use as we seed the data, and it'll probably then go through sort of cents per use as we get established. But then the expectation is to have licenses, whether monthly or annual. But yes, ultimately, the idea is to have a value sharing model. And there are various other revenue models and revenue streams we can see, both that are established in insurance and more broadly at the moment.
Thank you.
So Rana, maybe one question. What would be your most favorite or your target customer at the moment? And if anybody of the audience, how should they, if they can...
Lucas, we can hardly hear you.
So maybe, Rana, repeating my question, what would be your ideal customer right now at the moment? And if so, how can the audience reach you best if they can introduce you to such a target customer?
Thank you very much indeed for that question, and we'd love to hear from anybody relevant. We actually think that there are a number of different types of ideal customer, probably from two sides. So from the customer, the insurer perspective, one of the key things let's talk from the insurtech perspective first, because obviously the Fraud Bureau will benefit from having more and more intelligence that's shared. So we'd welcome working with anybody and having customers and partnerships with people that can help seed that data. So any insurtechs that use image or voice data would be wonderful. We're speaking to some of those already. But then the insurance companies as well, again, seeding the data and using it. So if you've got a reasonably agile, large insurer, that would be ideal. But we'd love to speak to any insurer, and we believe that we can benefit. All of them will benefit from our Fraud Bureau.
Awesome. To conclude this Q&A, I have one question from the audience, from Gaston. So do you have a link with Africa insurers already, African insurers?
Ethical insurers with a particular focus on fraud detection. I can highlight the one name or one of the names that we're sharing at the moment, or two of them. So Claim Technology is a gateway platform, and it's got easy APIs that help connect insurers to claims-related insurtechs. And they're extremely ethical. It's absolutely wonderful. And they've embraced fraud detection. In fact, in February, they're going to be doing a big sort of marketing and information push on it. So they're a small ethical side. And Nymes, who are the other company we're trialing with, they do compliance. They're compliance focused and very ethical. Those are the only two names I can mention at the moment. And if you've got any other suggestions or connections, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah. So you can see their contact email addresses on the slide. So for questions, follow-up ideas, just reach out to Rana and Sodat. That said, let's move to the second pitch of today. Thank you again, Rana and Sodat. So Mazzuma is the second pitch of today. Mazzuma's vision is to improve financial inclusion in emerging markets, especially in Africa, by making crypto and DeFi products easily accessible through payments and remittances. Both founders are avid fans of escape rooms and have escaped over 10 rooms in 4 countries. Over to you, Kofi.
Oh. Okay, thank you, Yanis. Nice to meet everybody. My name is Kofi Jemfi, and we are Mazzuma. So at Mazzuma, our vision is to improve financial inclusion in emerging markets in Africa by making crypto and DeFi products easily accessible through payments and remittances. A bit of our story. So we started off in 2015 as a mere online payment platform to receive payments in Africa. we kept on building this platform out, and we led it into an application whereby we allowed payments in Africa, Ghana. And then this led to us being listed on Forbes 30 under 30. But somewhere in 2018, we realized that the blockchain revolution was coming, and it was time for us to move Africans into that space. And then over the years, today, we've processed more than $100 million worth on our platform, and I'm excited to share more of our product with you. So our technology. We have three main parts of our business. So we have the Mazzuma token that enables users to send instant peer-to-peer payments internationally and locally, and they have very, very low fees. We have a remittance dissemination part of our business whereby we work with big remittance companies in order to move funds into people's accounts across Africa. And we have an on-demand liquidity business to help with settlement on the remittance layer. So how do we make money? So there are four key ways. The first is we render services to enterprise clients in the space who want to work with blockchain solutions. We have mass token purchases. We have institutional purchases on capital gains on digital assets. And then we also have disseminations, transaction commissions on disseminations with our remittance partners. So why is all of this necessary, right? Why is this business relevant today? It's key to realize that the current landscape of the market is a multi-billion-dollar market, and it keeps on growing every single year with the remittance market and the peer-to-peer market in Africa. And as much as this market is big, the process currently is very time-consuming, expensive, and there are high fees involved in it. So what we are trying to do is to move it from what you see at the top to move to the one at the bottom. And what kind of traction have we accrued in this space up until now? Because we have a very good understanding of the space and we've worked very long in it. We have over 300,000 users on our platform, and we've processed more than $100 million. We have a strong developer community supporting our project, and we have over 11 remittance partner agencies as well. This is just a snapshot of our ecosystem with some of the partners that we've worked with and are working with on the left, and then some of the prospective clients and partners that we want to work with on the right. And this is just a snapshot of our direct competitors in the field as well. We have people like Chipper and Circle on both sides. But one of our strongest modes is that we believe that we are one of the strongest people to help move Web 2 services to Web 3 services, because this will just bring much more fluidity in payments. So what is our big picture? What is our big plan? Currently, we are listed on exchanges such as BitForex and PancakeSwap with our Mazzuma token, and we are looking to increase the market liquidity and trading volume to move it to bigger exchanges like Binance, Coinbase, and Kraken. We want to use this momentum to also be able to start other aspects of our business like crypto staking and lending. And then we have a strong Binance matching partnership whereby we want to use it for cross-chain collaborations. We also have the Mazzuma DEX, which is one of the projects that we also want to work on to allow us to be able to much more easily do the flows for some of our remittance partners. And then lastly, with Quantis, we want to allow for easy payments via the Visa or MasterCard network. So what are we looking for? What do we believe we can use to achieve this? And we're looking for a seed of $5 million. The majority of this is going to be spent on liquidity and market making to be able to expand our project more and be able to do bigger flows. And we also use a large part of this for product development and talent acquisition. And then the rest we use for the operational strategy. The current investors on our cap table is CVVC, and we are looking to work with more established and other partners in the space. Our current team that you see over here, I'm on the left, I'm Kofi Jenfi, and then we have Neil Sandade in the middle, Director of Software Engineering, and then we have one of our senior developers, Paul, who is currently pursuing a PhD, and we have a total team size of 16 out of Ghana, Accra. So we are Mazzuma, and we are looking to work with all of you, those who can help us to build this big vision of being able to have true payment freedom in Africa. And that leads to our motto, Mazzuma, your money, your freedom. Looking forward to all your questions. Thank you very, very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Kofi, for the pitch. Again, for the audience, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A function, and then we will forward them to the team. Similar as before, you will see at the bottom the spinning NFTs of Mazzuma, and on the left, the QR code to get to the landing page. So let's open this Q&A maybe with you, Zach, as we left you out on the last startup.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy. For some reason, I can't do my video, so you just have to look at my image. Thanks for the presentation, Kofi. Much appreciated. I just had a question around, the broad remittance landscape in Africa. It's obviously dominated by giants like Tripracash, MFS Africa. Using crypto rails as a means to increase the opportunities for not just individuals and SMEs, but also larger institutions to move money across borders. Talk to us a little bit about the threat from regulators when it comes to remittances using crypto rails. Even if you were to use stable coins like USDT and USDC, there's still a concern around regulatory overhaul. I'm sure you factored that into your business model. If you could touch upon that and how you're mitigating that risk would be super helpful.
Okay, so I love the question about regulation, right? Because regulation can either be a strength or it can be a risk. We are proud to say we are one of the few companies we know working in the blockchain space that has actually gotten a license from the Central Bank of Ghana before. And we made them aware of the fact that we are working with blockchain related, projects. But I think the most hardest part is to let them understand. It took a very, very long time. It took almost 2 years for us to get them to understand it. But we are very excited from the point of view that the regulators were at least able to understand to some level what we were trying to do. Now, it's also key to realize that all the AML things that have to be put in place have to be put in place, or the regulations that need to be certified in order to make this business work has to be there, and all those things we are compliant with them. So for us, we don't want to look at regulation as a threat. We rather want to look at it as we talk to the regulator about it in case we need any support from their end, and then we use that to push our business. Yeah.
Got it. And just sort of as a follow-up question, if I may, is there a license fee that is paid to the regulators on a recurring basis every month, every quarter, or is it a fraction of your transaction volume every month that you have to sort of pay as a fee? So what is the economical commercial arrangement with the regulator?
Oh, okay. So it's not tied to sort of like your business progress, or any sort. It's pretty much when you are going through the application process, they charge you some kind of application fees. And if your category requires you to put some kind of money down with them or whatever it is, then you do that. But post that, you can do business pretty much. So it's not tied to, as you keep on growing, they keep on taxing you more.
Okay. Okay, because in Nigeria, these concerns were quite severe, but I guess in Ghana, it's a little bit different. The Central Bank of Ghana is a bit more forgiving than the Central Bank of Nigeria. Right, fantastic, thanks.
Yeah, maybe then I step in next. Thanks for the presentation, Kofi. I think maybe you can briefly elaborate which are the markets that are currently most relevant for you, and also which markets are you eyeing in the future. And then as a follow-up, a separate one is, do you have any requests or looking for support that you might want to ask to the audience, which some of the audience might be able to help you afterwards? Or maybe first about the markets.
Okay, so in terms of the markets that we are looking to, delve into, actually what we are trying to do is to create the bridge, right? We've built a solid business in the Web2 space with remittances, but we see that everything that we've done in Web2, we can transition to Web3 because it will be 10 times more cheaper and far more easier to operate. And on top of that, we'll be able to even do much more business on that scale. So in terms of looking at the markets and then the support that we are looking at, what we are essentially looking at as funds and firms who believe in the Web3 ethos, right? Because Web3 works, and Web3 works for Africa probably better than probably anywhere in the world, you know. So we are looking for people who are passionate and excited about working with companies like us to push the Web3 ethos and be able to drive this financial inclusion agenda in Africa.
So again, essentially, your request to the audience, anything that would be most welcoming in terms of support from the audience?
It's a bit hard to hear you, Lucas. The ending of the statement.
Yeah, so if you had a request to the audience, what would be the most tangible thing to help you build your business in the near future?
The most tangible thing is we are looking for all sorts of partnerships who want to join us, whether VCs or other firms who want to join us in pushing the Web3 agenda in Africa when it comes to the payment space. Yeah, I don't want to, should I say, narrow it down because I don't know the wide range of people on this call. There are people from all sorts of backgrounds, but that would be our main driving focus to help to push this agenda. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's Wolfgang, if I may, one question. How do you provide the sort of security so when people use your service, that the money actually gets where it's supposed to get? So, I mean, every bank, as Zach said, needs these licenses that provide a certain cushion, a certain guarantee, certain assurance. What kind of assurance do you provide to your customers that this is a legit service and get the right reputation?
Okay, so I have two answers to that. And the first one is track record, right? I mean, in order for every company to keep on growing over the years and to be able to do even the scale of business that we've done with the continent, you need to have a good reputation. Otherwise, you will not be able to last in the space. So the first thing is, what is the reputation of the individuals in the company that you are working with? And I think you have a solid reputation as of now, so we just need to scale that as time is going on. And then the second thing is we are dealing with the blockchain, right? Which is part of the reason why we are driving this agenda of Web3. With the blockchain, things are far more transparent. You can actually check whether the transaction was sent. So we want to bring more transparency to the space. We want to bring more, should I say, access in terms of what we can be able to offer our customers. And then we believe that having amazing partners on the call, such as yourselves, would also help us to be able to drive this agenda of them believing that, yes, this service actually works. And then when they try it and they see that it works, then we have them as repeat customers and then we keep on building them. Yeah, so that's what I'll say. Yeah. Emily, do you have anything to add on that one? My co-founder is on the call, so...
Okay, so basically, Kofi has said majority of it. We are trying to democratize payments using the blockchain, and the blockchain brings the part of traceability and accountability. So for every transaction that is done, it is fully available on the public domain, on our Explorer and everywhere else. And I feel like by doing all of this and also by going through the compliance and checks that are being done from the central bank as well, this gives the public some sort of confidence that we are a regulated entity and we are doing the work in compliance with the laws of the country and as well. So from that side, I think that gives our customers the sort of assurance that we can deliver on the last mile side.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you very much. I have two short questions for you from the audience. So Ambrogio is asking, which of the revenue streams that you stated do you believe is the most substantial one?
I didn't hear the question too.
Ambrogio is asking, from the 4 revenue streams that you stated in your presentation, which one do you believe is the most substantial one?
Oh, substantial. Definitely the mass token purchases. And because we definitely, in order for us to facilitate that flow, they need to enter into our economy by purchasing that. And then the mass disseminations to us was also a very strong flow because once you have more volume coming through your ecosystem, we're able to make more money of the flow. So I'll say those are the 2 strong ones that we see. Yeah.
All right. And lastly, to close this Q&A, Chris asks, is the business model of Mazzuma the same in every country, or do you need to adapt to different local regulations? I mean, we heard already from Zach that in Nigeria there might be different rules, but in general, what is your strategy there?
Okay, so as you know, Africa is a myriad. Going per region to region, it kind of like changes. But what we've come to realize is that generally, when you have a good consensus from one of the central banks in one region, you can use that as some kind of like a stepping stone to be able to engage with other regulators in other space. So we don't see too much friction on that side when we're going forward. And on top of that, with regard to the technology layer, which is a blockchain layer, there's no issues because the technology works the same pretty much everywhere. People can still interact with it. So that's part of it. We don't see an issue on it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Kofi and me. That note, let's move to the next pitch. Now we're moving all the way from Ghana to Germany. So we're having as next, we have Olaf from CO2 DAO. CO2 DAO is the world's first decentralized carbon market, a platform for the global climate movement in which carbon tokens can be earned and exchanged via smartphones app. Furthermore, Olaf had a former fintech company, which was hijacked shortly before the planned IPO. The reason was a hostile takeover by the founder of the German Wirecard AG. So that explains a lot. Anyways, Olaf, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Yanis. Okay. So as you already said, it's the world's first decentralized carbon market. And I use a little pointer here. So for decades, we know that CO2 is the source of and the reason for climate change. And that sometimes leads to large catastrophes all over the world. So what's the problem? The damage caused by CO2 is somehow time delayed. So that means that the reaction of people and politicians is delayed too. So what's the solution for that? Studies prove that if you provide immediate value, people's behavior changes. So what we do is for every kilogram of CO2 you reduce, you receive one carbon token to your CO2 DAO wallet app, which you can swap, you can hodl, or you can use as social tokens. These three arrows, the green arrows here, show where we provide this immediate value to the three target groups: people, companies, and projects, where people are the most important because these are the key influencers. People who reduce CO2 would buy climate neutral products from companies and ultimately vote for politicians that can introduce climate laws. So for example, Pablo here, he works for a reforestation project. And he told us CO2 DAO is the problem solver for him because bureaucratic fundraising and donation marketing is much more challenging for him than planting trees. John's company is paying to compensate the CO2 emissions they cannot avoid themselves. As a result, they can show the climate neutral seal on their website or on their packaging to gain more customers. But for a decentralized platform, the people itself are the most important, obviously, to gain mass adoption. Lynn, for example, she tracks the climate rewards on her smartphone app. And with the help of our partner network, we can make these climate actions measurable. So we calculate how many kilograms of CO2 Lynn has saved by using her charging app, her biking app, her photovoltaics app, or if she bought any climate neutral products of our network, train tickets, or green electricity. We are aiming to connect as many climate friendly offers here and then services to our API. And the app is as easy to use as an airlines app, Air Miles app. You can swap your tokens for fiat, for any kinds of tickets, or for discounts or offers. So what are competitors? So we saw that many climate tech companies cannot scale right in time. So because most of them are really competing in B2B niches. So we are trying to connect, as I said, existing climate solutions to our platform. Second, many of them also operate behind closed doors, are kind of intransparent. But the DAO, by definition, is decentralized and democratic. And third, many of them depend on voluntary donations. And I read an American saying, if there's no money in it, it won't work. So we now know that it's important to provide economic value. Experts agree that carbon markets are the key mechanism to enable the necessary climate investments. And they say that carbon markets one day will be bigger than the entire fossil fuel industry. And if you think about it, it can't be any other way, right? So on the left side, you can see the mandatory market where companies like Tesla, for example, they even make more money selling carbon certificates than by selling cars. And on the other side, the voluntary carbon markets that have kind of high barriers to entry for projects and companies. So CO2 DAO is the first decentralized carbon market, which is open to anyone that wants to earn and trade carbon credits. And I wanted to show this crazy slide here about how companies have to reduce their CO2 emissions in the next years to meet their net zero pledges. And that you can imagine that has to lead to vast ESG investments in our space. So we are well on our way to achieving our go-to-market goals for mainnet launch in mid-22. However, you could really help us with these two areas here. We are looking for 5 more experts in our core team and for 5 selected investors for our private token sale in the upcoming months. We will do another round before we go public in the end of the year. Yeah, if you want to know more about the private token sale, you can scan or make a screenshot this QR code to be participate early in the Web3 climate movement. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olaf, for the great pitch. So in case you didn't manage to take a screenshot of the QR code now, don't worry, just reach out to Olaf and I'm pretty sure he's happy to provide you more details. So let's start again with the Q&A. Maybe Susanne, would you like to start?
Yes, please. So yeah, thanks very much, Olaf. A great concept. Totally makes sense to use blockchain in that space, especially given the huge double spending problem in the CO2 offsetting markets. So I was wondering, where are you right now on your journey? What's your current traction right now? How many users do you have?
We are currently building the MVP, and we talked to 8 pilot partners that will participate so that we have a fully functioning platform in the next months so that we can show how it works. You know, we can show how the dynamics are running. And then with the after the private token sale, we can build to launch on mainnet in mid of the year.
Okay, great. And what's the technology you're using? What blockchain?
Yeah, we saw that we are building on Ethereum layer 1. We are hopefully migrating to ETH 2.0, of course, because of interoperability, scalability, fees, and also energy consumption. And we are also building with layer 2 Polygon.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Olaf, for the presentation. Maybe you briefly elaborate what's your main USP compared to other solutions and competitors in this very competitive field out there?
I think our main USP is that we include people in the game. You know, as I said, like there are many B2B solutions for offsetting, but for a decentralized platform, you have to have kind of mass adoption, and a DAO and a decentralized platform is ideal for that, to reach people that are not really DeFi nerds or experts, but they know how to download a smartphone app, of course. And then they can just start by doing climate action and getting rewards. So our low barriers of entry, I think, are our main USP above any other climate tech. But on the other hand, I have to say, we are cooperating with lots of other climate tech companies in the space. So it's more of a collaborative approach here and not that competitive as in other areas, I would say.
Olaf, it's Wolfgang here. Thanks very much for the presentation. Obviously, you're addressing a very relevant, urgent, and important need of society. You gave this example of the person tracking their CO2 footprint. And it reminded me a bit when a person goes on a diet, they track all the food consumption for a while, but after 2 weeks, they just stop doing it. How are you planning to maintain interest, day-to-day interest of the people that you want to reach and sensitize for the issue, so that they keep basically tracking their footprint, and not just for 2 weeks, but for longer?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I had an interesting talk with Tim Schumacher from Ecosia and said our solution is the only one he knows that would even be suitable for climate deniers, you know. So it's because of the incentive system we have in place. So you don't need to be a tree hugger to use our system, but you earn by doing climate actions. You know, it's a little bit like air miles. You know, people do it because they get something in return. And so they get our carbon tokens and can exchange them for euros or exchange them for concert tickets. So that it's their main intention to use the app. Not so much I want to see what I emit.
And how do you plan to verify that? I mean, could I just enter that I rode the bike for 20 kilometers?
Yeah, that's a good thing, and we put a lot of effort in it. So we talked with Elva, which is the largest network of, for example, for electric charging stations. You know, so they can track quite exactly how many kilowatt hours you charged your car with. You know, and we have an anonymous API. So that we know, Wolfgang, you just yesterday charged 100 kilowatt hours, and when we can recalculate how many kilograms of CO2 you reduced by that. And these interfaces, of course, we have to hire independent auditors to check and see if these contracts that are running on the API are totally correct and verifiable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. I have a question from Mr. Anonymous from the chat. So he's asking, so why are you actually using a proof of work blockchain? Even though Ethereum 2 is going to be proof of stake, but it's still in the works, why are you not switching to a carbon neutral blockchain, for example, like Algorand?
Yeah, we really, it was a long decision. For us, it's very important to have this interoperability and to connect to many other partners. So we are really aiming on waiting for ETH 2.0 proof of stake to build on, so that we have this larger ecosystem. But I also talked to Algorand, and I also talked to Near Protocol, and we also will build bridges to that, but because the energy consumption and carbon footprint of the blockchain is obviously very, very important.
Awesome. So a final question from Ben. How much money can an average user make? And what are the dependencies, if any?
That's a good question. Yeah, I calculated actually. So that depends really a lot on the carbon market, which is currently trading at. So last year it was like 30 euro. This year it's like 90 euro per ton of CO2. So experts estimate that it will go up to 200 euro. But that's not predictable right now. But I calculated for me that I would have earned like 400 euro per year if I have done the things I currently do. But, you know, it's not so much the money value, it's also the social token value that you gain limited access to a certain concert, to events, and to get to be a kind of included in a community. But 450 euro is the amount I calculated for 2021.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There is actually a couple more questions in the chat, but we don't have the time to answer them now. So Olaf, if you could maybe answer the questions in the Q&A session and in the regular chat while we proceed from the outstanding ones, that would be great.
Yes, I will. Thanks a lot, man.
So much, Olaf.
Thank you.
All right, let's move back to Africa. So launched in 2020, HouseAfrica is making real estate transactions seamless and fraud-free. They help vulnerable home buyers access property data and connect them to the right property finance. The company's goal is to build a go-to platform for property transactions in Africa using technologies like blockchain. Behind this audacious journey of unlocking 900 billion in debt capital are the talented and fun-loving Andy Fricke and Namdi. Over to you, Andy.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Fricke, co-founder of HouseAfrica. So in 2017, I lost about $18,000 to land fraud. Events like this happen regularly in Nigeria and other parts of Africa. And that's because many states in Nigeria still maintain an antiquated method of land record, and that accounts for over $900 billion in debt capital in residential real estate alone. That's why we are building a blockchain-based property record system to help vulnerable home buyers and financial institutions to access, verify, and value property. We also have a mortgage module that allows real estate developers to onboard their properties, letting us connect home buyers to mortgage opportunities through our partner banks. While we help real estate developers sell in a convenient way for free, our goal is to be able to aggregate property data. We charge $250 to onboard a real estate developer per annum. We charge 2.5% when any property on our platform is sold, and then we make 1% commission for every successful mortgage. Till date, we've done over $45,000 in the last 10 months, and we've recorded 34,000 properties on our platform. We as well have raised $210,000 from some of the foremost investors around Africa and the world. With equity investment of $3 million, our target for the next 12 months is to do $150,000 in revenue and over 1 million properties, expand to Ghana, Rwanda, and Kenya. All this is possible with my amazing team with deep domain expertise in real estate and finance, GIS technology, and blockchain technology. Myself and my co-founder, Namdi, have exited our first startup. In the next 5 years, our goal is to become that go-to platform for anyone considering buying property in Africa. Through HouseAfrica, our plan is to reduce property fraud while increasing access to credit for home buyers. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Andy. So let's get right into the HouseAfrica Q&A. Maybe Zach, you would like to start again?
Yeah, happy to do so. Yes, I've known Namdi and Indy for many, many years now because they were part of our accelerator at Startup Bootcamp in 2019, prior to them launching HouseAfrica full-fledged. Yes, I guess, first of all, congratulations on the incredible traction that you've achieved over the last couple of years. I think the one thing that I would just want you to elaborate on is around the revenue model. Where do you see the highest margin coming in? Is it on property developers and property developers doing queries on land ownership? Is it getting a percentage of the transaction volume and closed transactions that have used HouseAfrica from a verification standpoint? Where do you see the split of revenues right now? And where do you see it going in a couple of years? You're obviously in a very, very, very hot space, but from a land ownership perspective, but how do you see the revenue being split between these two models would be our question.
So at the moment, we're seeing more revenues coming from the real estate developers onboarding. So Sitemap essentially is a tool to help them sell. And so because it's giving them a value, they are paying to use that value. Like we say, the goal is for us to be able to aggregate property. And then we are launching a marketplace soon. The essence of the marketplace is to create additional value for the real estate developers, namely helping them sell faster. So that marketplace, and of course, whenever we help them sell, we are going to make 2.5%. That's where we're going to see a higher revenue. But at the moment, it's coming from the payments from the developers and body.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Andy. I think one quick question is, what's your strategy in terms of getting the government involved? Have you involved the government already, or what's your sort of, because especially when it comes to property, government involvement is often very relevant. What's the status there?
We are currently talking to the government, in fact, 6 of them, but that effort is supported by one of our partners, Nigerian Mortgage Finance Company. So we've gotten one state, right, to come to our side, but other ones are the decision is quite slow, from their part, and that's why we try to take the path of the real estate developers, like a low-hanging fruit. They have a lot of properties, and they managed to get clean documents from the government, which is a prerequisite before they build. And so because we're working with them, we're essentially working with clean properties, which is actually what we're trying to contest. And just to conclude, so the conversation is ongoing. We want to be able to be prepared, have something substantial, and then we'll go back to them and say, hey, look at what we've done without you. And these are the things that we can do with you backing us. And of course, the revenue and all of that, we think they will come to the table.
Okay, I also have a question here. Thanks very much for the presentation and congrats on the traction. Obviously, it's solving a huge problem. So I was curious, so how do you do it? So how do lenders approve their home ownership or land ownership to you? And what are the hoops that they have to jump through in order to use the platform?
Okay. So for the land lenders, we work with the financial institution, that's the bank. Currently, we have signed an exclusive agreement with a refinancing company that has over 40 primary mortgage banks under them. So what we do is all the mortgage or all the mortgage applications is being sent directly to their own application, which these 40 banks gain access to these applications, and they can contact back to the client and then issue the mortgages to them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I think we are actually right on the dot, done with our 10 minutes. So let's move forward. Next in the pipeline, we have Carmachain. Carmachain is an alternative credit data marketplace. So Carmachain enables digital lenders to get a one-stop shop access to consolidated transaction and credit data through a single API. The co-founders are Ted, Femi, Lina, Dean, and Lisa. Ted is the CEO with 10 years plus in consumer lending. Femi, the CBDO, has a decade of experience in building credit bureaus. Lina is CTO with an IT infrastructure and business intelligence experience. And Dean is the CMO with marketing and business development experience in Africa. But wait, so what happened to Lisa, right? So Lisa is the 4-month-old daughter who adorably chimes in some of their daily meetings. So over to you, Ted.
Okay, yeah, now I can share my screen. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me here. Thanks, Yanis, Olaf, and everybody else for organizing such a great demo day. Did you know that 1.6 billion people at 85 countries across the globe don't have credit history? It's roughly 87% of the whole population. And that's often places where mobile money substitutes banks. For instance, Nigeria, 40% of Nigerians have a bank verification profile. 70% actively use mobile money, but only 15% are recorded by credit bureaus. Getting a loan is hard if lenders can't get any of your data. Fortunately, transaction and behavioral data is a strong default predictor. Hence, mobile money, telecom, utility information could substitute traditional credit profiles by building a credit score of seen file borrowers. My name is Tad Martinov, and I'm CEO and co-founder of Carmachain, the world's first alternative credit data marketplace. We've put together a digital footprint of underbank and provided to lenders for smarter credit decisions. The data is contributed by companies providing services to individuals. Why? Because they are paid every time lenders request information. Making an extra revenue stream is a unique opportunity provided by Carmachain. Compliance is the key, so that is why the access is limited only to lenders for now. The lenders collect individual consents on loan application process to fulfill the best GDPR standards. In reverse, lenders get access to a data one-stop shop, representing data which has never been introduced before. The data is available real-time because sharing services are built on the end-to-end basis. Contributors hold full data control to be sure nobody can approach sensitive information. The queries come on a need-to-know basis, mitigating risk of unfair competition. Lenders could also share data one to another, which is a powerful anti-fraud notification network. This way, we become a decentralized credit bureau 2.0. But we are not the next play for Africa. We are more powerful than that. Borrowers authorize lenders to collect information from any available source instead of pointing out bank accounts they would like to give access to. The distributed data management brings Carmachain extreme scalability. We can introduce our services to any new market globally in a matter of weeks. No need to store data means we often don't need any licenses or cumbersome local IT infrastructure to become fully operational. The business model is transparent and straightforward. You pay to hit the borrower's data, you get paid by contributing data. One data set can be sold multiple times to multiple lenders. Data is great commodity utilization-wise. I personally have been many times in the shoes of our customers. My background in consumer lending started in 2002 in Ukraine with 100,000 customer organization. Solar Home, founded in Myanmar in 2016, brought experience from underbanked market. It became the biggest pay-go solar company in Southeast Asia upon my leave in 2019, with 50,000 customers on board. Lina, the CTO, was a IT infrastructure to her home. She had to build a payment service or credit facilities and did a great job here delivering MVP. Femi Disibidio was a foundation member of Nigeria's first credit bureau. He knows exactly why old-fashioned credit bureaus are not taking off in the underbank world. Dean CMO been in Kenyan fintech and consumer industries. Carmachain launched in Nigeria early 2021 and has already signed 22 customers. Every marketplace has a chicken neck issue, so we had to focus on data contributors first, which brought us to coverage on 1 million data profiles late 2021. Lenders started running tests and sample with us to identify new data points and start drafting scorecards based on that. We anticipate having 5 million data profiles in the management with hundreds of thousand queries per month in the middle of 2022. We will go deep in Nigeria and start looking for international expansion late 2022, generate about $20,000 in MRR before Series A fundraiser. We welcome you to join us in a game-changing journey. The way to improve financial inclusion by building credit score to billions of underbanked. We are raising $1 million in a convertible note to accelerate growth in Nigeria and prepare for international rollout. Thanks for your attention. We are open for a question.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ted. On that note, let's get into the Q&A. 1 second. Right.
What?
Here, as before, you can see the spinning NFTs, so don't forget about them. I think there is still some left, but I saw that there is already a lot of purchasing going on, so keep it going. And that's it. Maybe Lucas, you want to start this time?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Ted, and also congratulations on what you've built so far. I think what would be really beneficial if you can sort of outline a bit what sort of data is typically used or analyzed in order to provide for this alternative credit profile. Maybe
Sorry, Lucas. Yeah. Thank you so much for the great question. Speaking about alternative data points, usually we mean some KYC and transaction data that could be received by some companies who are not lenders or financial institutions. So let's say it would be an information about airtime from telecoms or utility bills, payments that have been made by a person, right? It actually represents the alternative view on a customer that's given away from this non-credit perspective, but still have a really valuable information that can help lenders to build cross-validation procedures or get the insights from the payment behavior, like what do you pay, how often, etc.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ted. And also thanks, Lucas, because this was exactly the question I wanted to ask. So thanks for answering that. I'm also curious, I didn't quite get what is the role of the individuals that you collect the data about? Do they also have a role in your business model? Or like, can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah. Thanks, Susanna. It's also a great question because for now, individuals don't play a huge role, in the process that we are doing because practically we take data from one company and deliver it to another's. But that's the data of individuals, and individuals provide the consent, right, to provide this data on this journey. In the future, we want very much to loop in individuals into this process, giving them access with the application. So practically, that would be an application that will help you to aggregate all attached data that we were able to collect through our customers, so you can keep it under control. And actually, it's going to help you to manage your credit score at some point.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks very much. I was just wondering, are there any data privacy issues in your local market? Because I just imagine this kind of data tracking in Europe would be rather complicated. And my first thought, it's very similar to sort of the social credit system in China, although it serves a very good purpose, because without credit history, as you so rightly point out, there's no way to get a credit. So I was wondering if there are any restrictions on data collection from private people.
Yeah, definitely managing the private data is not easy everywhere. Most of countries, they accept the GDPR like a legislation framework, which quite similarly regulates how this personal data could be managed. And that was one of the reasons why we decided to start exactly with delivering data to lenders, simply because lenders can prove that they are in touch with an individual and they can collect this consent during the loan application. So practically, if you want to get a loan, you should authorize your lender to collect your data. And out of this authorization, lenders go and collect this data through our service.
But that would be sort of a retroactive permission, because you need to keep tracking a history of a person. But to release that data, you would ask the private individual for his consent.
Absolutely. That is one-time release that happens after the loan application. And we check that loan application consists the permit to collect the data.
Okay, thanks.
If I may quickly add, in addition to that, because we operate primarily in Nigeria, we also ensure that we work with licensed institutions. So we don't work with just any lender. We work with lenders.
Femi, you're very hard to understand. Can you get closer to the microphone?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was saying that in addition to getting consent, we also make sure that we work with licensed institutions. We work with lenders that we believe that are authorized, to do so, to access that data. So they either have a money lending license or a central bank license to actually access that data. So in addition to consent, we also ensure that the partners that we work with have authorization to access consumer data or borrowers' data. Did you get that?
Mm-hmm. Right. I have a question from Hannah. She's actually asking straightforward, how much money are you looking for?
Well, we're currently looking to raise something to close $1 million to pump our efforts in 2022. So it practically will cover our deep rollout in Nigeria, and allow us to make all preparation for the national rollout.
All right, thanks. And then from James, he's asking, is the data collected with or without the customer consent directly with you, or is the consent given by a third party when you gather the data? I mean, similar before, but maybe just to refresh.
That's where I need to clarify, right? It's impossible to provide customer consent every time your footprint left somewhere, right? You paid in a shop, you don't sign a paper, right, that you authorize somebody to hold this data, but it is still there. So that's why the consent, right, it comes when lender gets a loan application. So practically, and it's very logically. I mean, we didn't invent the wheel here, because all credit bureaus, they operate in the same manner, right? The authorization to receive data from a credit bureau, bank receive when you fill in the loan application and authorize your lender to collect this data. It could be credit bureau, so it could be somewhere else. So we practically act in the same manner.
All right. One more question from Gaston. So he's asking, or as he understands it, that you basically don't even collect the data. According to him or his understanding, you're just putting two companies in touch. Is it true?
Yeah, that's absolutely true, because we do data transmission on the end-to-end basis. We don't store this data in the middle. We just track what types of data was transmitted from company A to company B. And our role is a role of data orchestrator, right? We are taking on board the valid parties. We are taking care that they're within the compliance framework, but we are not in touch data as they transfer one to another. We know what this type of data, A, B, or C, but we don't know what exact data is there.
All right. We're actually close to run out of time, but there is actually one very good last question for you, Ted. Let's try to keep it short. What assurances do you give to lenders or customers or anybody whose data you are processing that it can't be hacked or tampered with? Are they trusting you? And this question is by David.
Well, I guess the trust is coming here if you understand what companies consume this data. As Femi said, the onboarding process is quite thorough, right? You can't just come and say, I want to consume data. You got to have a central bank license. So you will be a valid party only after that to consume some data. And the company that contributes data, they are sure, right, if they understand that only valid parties are on board, and if that's a licensed lender, the consumption goes only to this company, but nowhere else. And that's, again, right, why we don't collect this data in the middle, because we want to make companies sure that this data came on the end-to-end basis, so your data transferred to exact this company.
All right, thank you so much, Ted. So Q&A is over for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions, just type them into the chat, and Ted, you can then answer it from there. All right, let's move to pitch number 6 and the last pitch of the day. It's Pravica. Pravica is an unified communication suite that meets Web3 standards and utilizes blockchain technology to empower users' privacy and security. In his free time, the CEO and founder, Mohamed Abdul, loves to ride his motorbike through the stunning landscapes of Egypt. Over to you, Mohamed.
Thank you so much. I would like first to start with thank you, CV Labs, for arranging this and having us. Thank you so much for the great opportunity. I'm Mohamed Abdou, founder and CEO of Pravica. So Pravica is an ultra-secure messaging and communication suite that uses blockchain technology to empower user privacy and security. Let's start with the real problem that we are solving. In the past 5 years, enterprises have witnessed some of the most serious data breaches ever, ranging from business email compromise attacks, which is a problem worth $26 billion of losses, as per the latest report from the FBI, to the hacking of conferencing platforms and messaging apps. Every week, we hear stories emerging of security attacks crippling companies. The most popular messaging apps in the market are being fined for privacy violations, costing businesses millions of dollars in downtime, trade secrets, and customer confidence. And in 2021 only, almost every industry experienced a major data breach, which cost an average of $4 million per incident. Venture capital investors and big data giants are now realize the need to secure privacy for enterprises. They must act, and investors are following suit. Despite all privacy violations and data security issues, we can't deny the fact that the market size of messaging apps in Web 2.0 is extremely huge, worth almost $500 billion. On the other hand, the encrypting messaging industry is growing exponentially from $5 billion in 2020 and expected to double in 2022. It's expected to take over and swallow the Web 2.0 market in the very near future with almost 4.3 billion users. If your vision is to invest in the future of communication, which side you will take? Pravica is here to fix this huge problem and protect the most valuable asset in this century, your data. Pravica is reinventing digital communication protocols by empowering organizations and individuals to create their own cryptographically sealed identities and store their own data without third-party retention. Tamper-proof identities keys are secured on the most secure blockchain network, which is the Bitcoin. And users control their own storage without retention by Pravica or any other third party. I'm sure by now you see the crucial need for our solution. And in order to build a fully decentralized communication suite, it requires large investments of time and money. Pravica knows what it takes to secure your messages and protect your privacy. First, we are bringing you a truly encrypted messaging app and soon a full communication suite. Joining the paradigm shift in and secured communication for enterprises is pretty straightforward with seamless experience. First, register your decentralized domain, onboard your employees, let everyone authenticate by his decentralized identity through Wise Wallet, start communicating with your colleagues through Pravica Messenger. A single decentralized identity replaces email addresses, phone numbers, and any usernames needed to send a text, email, or connect to a conference call. And always remember, not your keys, not your data. Our investors are our biggest believers. CVVC now owns and controls its decentralized domain that's secured on the Bitcoin block number 710136. And you can verify it by searching for cvvc.btc on the Stacks Blockchain Explorer. We at Pravica love giveaways. Before we go further, we encourage you to go to pravica.io/demo day, again, pravica.io/demo day, and claim your decentralized domain name that's secured on the Bitcoin network. It's going to be your key entrance to this new innovation. No need to download anything. It's a free gift from Pravica. If you haven't seen it yet, on the Apple Store, you will see that Pravica, in Apple's words, doesn't collect any data, which is something that we are extremely proud of. What sets Pravica apart from competition are three main factors. Number one, the use of decentralized non-sovereign identities and user-owned encryption keys and the decentralized storage system. Our product is live in the beta testing, and guess what? We succeeded to already onboard 3 enterprises that are using Pravica, and they paid $40,000. Our freemium customer base now exceeds 31,000 users from all over 110 countries. Our business model is based on 2 revenue streams: monthly subscriptions and subscription for decentralized storage. Our biggest vision here is to make private and secure communication available for everyone in the world by shipping more and more services, but after making sure that our customers need this service. We are lucky to have true believers behind Pravica. Our team and our advisors are our biggest assets. Our team is full of technical and business professionals who have a proven record of how to build products and scale businesses worldwide. Pravica secured almost $1 million from prominent VCs like 500 Startups and CVVC, and was accelerated by Stacks Accelerator. We are raising $3 million to scale up to 300 times by 2025. Privacy is a fundamental human right, and we encourage investors that truly believe in blockchain and Bitcoin to join us in our journey of protecting what you value most, which is your data. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mohammed, for the pitch. Now let's get into the Q&A session.
Thanks a lot, Mohammed, for the presentation, and congratulations on all the traction and achievements so far. Very impressive.
Thank you, Lucas.
Can you briefly explain what is the typical user looking like for Pravica, and is there different users, and what is it today and tomorrow?
Yes, the typical user that we see, they are very potential users for us, are governmental entities, enterprises, banks, or generally speaking, any entity that will be in a need to secure the communication between employees and between the entity and the customers. So this is why we are focusing at the early stage with the B2B model.
Thank you.
Mohammed, it's Wolfgang here, just maybe building on what Lucas just asked. So basically, you need your your app on both sides. So it's easy for a company for intercompany communication to start with, but as soon as you have a supplier or a client that you talk the go-to-market issue, and how do you plan on tackling this?
Yes, I believe that the go-to-market strategy for us is starting with going for enterprises at first, because the pain here of data privacy and data leakages due to using the normal communication tools or Web 2.0 communication tools is really focused for enterprises. And this is the pain right there. But for individuals, maybe I do care about my data privacy, maybe other they don't care about it. So there is a challenges for targeting normal customers or individuals at the early time. So for the early time, we're just targeting enterprises to secure the communication because the pain is right there.
It reminds, if I may just build on that, it reminds me a bit of the PGP encryption for emails that never really caught on because people weren't using it, and even if you broadcast in your email signature, you never found a recipient using it. So how do you plan to overcome that?
This is what we are already changing the concept here, because when you go to use PGP, there is a kind of key exchange between you and the recipient. So what we are doing here is based on a decentralized identity, because every single identity is carrying underneath your own keys. So when you do exchange messages with me, there is a hypothetical group is being created between you and me, so we can exchange the keys together without participation of any service provider inside. So we both holding the keys. You can send me the message, I can send you the reply without any need for exchanging the keys through any kind of communication. And because the encryption process here is based on the keys that's already secured at the client side, at your hands.
All right. I have a question from Tuan. So basically, does it mean that every single message is stored on the blockchain?
No, that it's very expensive to store every single message on the blockchain. What's really you need to make sure about is the identity. So the identity is created and secured on the blockchain, and you only one has the keys. And then the service provider, which is Pravica here, is just to making sure about the connection between you and the other side and to establish the connection. And then it is peer-to-peer, that there is a special ledger, which is you can download it at your side, you can install it at your cloud provider, and making sure that no one can understand what's inside this ledger, because everything is being encrypted client side and then stored on the ledger. You can use this ledger at your client side, or you can use it at your cloud provider, no problem at it. But storing every single message on the blockchain, it's something very expensive and it's not scalable by nature.
Mohammed, I also have a question. Thanks very much for the presentation. So I understand you chose the BTC and stacks for decentralization reasons, which makes sense to me. I'm just wondering, do you expect this also that it could hamper the growth of your user base, because you're addressing businesses and they could have concerns regarding energy consumption?
There is nothing about energy consumption at our side, because Stacks is using a novel consensus algorithm which is connected to the Bitcoin, but it is not a proof of work. It's something called proof of transfer. So every single transaction that's being stored on the block on Stacks blockchain, it's being anchored on the relevant Bitcoin block by the miners. So miners here are paying Bitcoin, not paying energy. So this is why we are using Stacks for many other benefits. So we are away of the energy consumption related to the Bitcoin or proof of work that maybe cause a problem for enterprises in the future.
Okay, so this is something that you actively also then explain, because I could imagine, I mean, not everybody knows that. And
yes, it's like a new novel consensus algorithm. It's called proof of transfer. It's only used by Stacks, and Stacks already implemented it.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I'm just thinking that this probably needs some explanation for the businesses that just don't have this deep knowledge.
Yes, thank you. So your question here is related to go-to-market strategy for the enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, the pain here is for enterprises. Like when you think about when you exchange critical information, financial information between you and your colleagues, we need to make sure you don't need to use WhatsApp or any normal messaging here. So what we are trying to do right now, after launching the platform, we are targeting business regionally and locally. So we started to talk with governmental entities. They started to use Pravica, and also we are now expanding in the Gulf area. We will start in the second quarter of this year to promote Pravica in the GCC area by establishing the license in Dubai. And I feel from what we are seeing and the whole discussions that we did with different sectors for enterprises like banking sectors and other enterprises, they are extremely passionate about finding a solution for the problem that they are living in this problem every single day and trying to find and paying a lot of money for hardware to secure firewalls and all these things, but still facing the same problem. So I believe that once we will start to move aggressively in sales and marketing for enterprises, there are a lot of demand for the services and the platform that securing the communication for businesses. I don't think that there is not too much issues that we can face in establishing a large customer base.
Right. Zach, would you like to bring in a concluding question?
I'm actually good from my end. I've been listening and actually learning a lot from our fellow panelists today. So I really appreciate everything that's been discussed so far.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Right. So on that note, I would say we conclude the Q&A and today's pitches. So before you all jump off the call, I have two more things to share. The first one would be that this week on Tuesday, we published the first edition of 2020 of the CVC Top 50 report. Basically, it's about the 2021 year. So in this report, we are analyzing the landscape of the crypto valley. We are sharing, for example, here some key findings, the top 50 valuation, or how many unicorns we have in the crypto valley, and how many blockchain companies in general. So if you're interested, go to cvc.com/top50, or Nikolai will also share the link now in the chat with you. And on the last note, I would like to thank all our startups and thank all our expert council for the great questions and great contributions. And of course, also you guys sitting and watching us and participating so actively in discussions. On the last note, you can see the applications for batch 4 are currently open for incubation program. So if you know somebody who might be interested, who has an exciting blockchain project in baby shoes, bring them to us, share the QR code, you can print screen it and forward it, or you can also reach out to me, Yanis Aguilar at cvlabs.com. So thanks again to everybody, and I wish you a beautiful day.